Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting a like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too. Be super cheeky of you. And let's crack on with today's first story. Much love, guys. Now today's first story comes from Help Me Recalibrate from the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. There's some trigger warnings on this story of abuse, emotional child abuse as well, physical violence, and graphic descriptions of an abusive situation. So if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. And this story is titled, Am I the Arsehole for insisting that I have nothing to apologize for after my husband read my diary? I'm trying to stay focused here, but my edibles have kicked in and I need advice. I've kept a diary since I was 10. It is my form of therapy, and I do not police my thoughts. I've never let anyone read my diary. My husband and I started dating over a decade ago. One day, a couple of months in, he was over at my apartment, and I hopped in the shower. When I came out, he was sitting on the bed, shell-shocked. He said he read my journal, which was about my life as a newly single woman. He told me it really stung to read all that. But wait, hold on. How'd you find it? He said he was looking for matches. He couldn't tell me why he kept reading even after he knew what it was, but his apology was sincere and I forgave him. Not too long after that, things got messy. He started getting either very sad or very angry while referring to things he read. His feelings were so intense that I started apologizing for my thoughts. Anyway, we got married. A decade later, I was thinking of a divorce and wrote a ton to process my thoughts about some sensitive topics. Again, he stumbled upon my journal and read it all. I was pissed, but he convinced me that he would never do it again. Besides, he was really hurt by the things I wrote and I felt bad. I let it go, but he started getting sad or angry again, thinking about what he had read. Once more, the intensity of his feelings led me to apologize for my thoughts. Now, here we are, married with kids, setting up Scrabble on a Friday night. He went to find a piece of paper and came back quiet and distracted. I asked if everything was okay. He looked at me sharply and told me he'd just read my journal. I tensed, thinking of how I recently tackled some tough feelings related to our different ethnic and religious backgrounds. I wrote things that would have been hurtful to read, and I was mortified knowing he did read them. But I was also annoyed. Wait, you read my journal again? He blamed me for leaving it out and accused me of being a bad person for what I wrote, but honestly, I wasn't listening to him anymore. I just wanted to know why we were dealing with this again. It's pretty fucking basic knowledge that one shouldn't read other people's diaries, right? But look at him, forcing his way into my brain and shaming me for what he saw. I surprised myself by slamming my hand on the table. A third time! We were both hurt that he was accusing me of overreacting while minimizing and deflecting from his behavior. He called me overly emotional when I cried over how violated I felt. This feels so wrong, like I committed a thought crime. So, am I the arsehole for insisting he's 100% wrong? I'm so mad, but I'm doubting whether my reaction was proportional to what he did. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being terrible, what would you rate someone reading your journal? And would you apologize for the things you wrote? Edit. Thank you for all your comments. I'm overwhelmed for those guys suggesting therapy. I've been in it for a long time and I credit it for listening to the little voice in my head instead of ignoring it. Therapy gave me the insight to see what he was doing in real time. But to those saying you're the arsehole and everyone sucks here, all I can say is that this type of behavior has been normalized so much for me, and I've been gaslit for so long, that I automatically convinced myself it wasn't that bad. I feel like I'm emerging from the upside down and I have to relearn basic social norms. I have no idea how sad all of this makes me. Update. We talked today, and he continued to minimize what he did and kept steering the conversation to how hurt he was reading what I wrote. I kept asking him if I shared those things willingly with him. When he said no, I told him that he can deal with the consequences of his own actions by himself. I kept stressing to him what a big violation it was and that I needed space to think. I guess he's been stewing about it for the last few hours because tonight he started to yell at me in front of our kids and angrily tell them about what I wrote. He literally told them that I don't like that they're from his culture. Fuck, man. Why are you hurting them? To hurt me? I was pleading with him to stop and trying to cover his mouth. The kids were shrieking and sobbing, and he was yelling and wild-eyed. The chaos of tonight just broke me. I had flashbacks of my childhood, screaming and crying on a stairwell, watching my dad go after my mum. Long ago, I had promised that I would never put my kids through something like that. I tried to get them out of the house since he wasn't stopping. But we only got as far as my car when the three of us sat crying, while I kept apologizing to them and trying to reassure them. God, how did I get to this point? Man, that is incredibly distressing what Opie is going through, or had gone through. You know, reading the diary once was just a huge violation in itself, and then suddenly stumbling upon it time and time again. He's not doing that. He's deliberately finding it and then using them as ammunition against you. Even reading it out to your kids, there's no coming back from what he's done in that situation. Using them against you, traumatizing them in the process. And OP was absolutely right. I imagine, because they said there was everyone sucks here and you're the arsehole, was probably saying, well, why don't you get out of this situation sooner or something along those lines. I think some completely miss about how normalization in abusive relationships actually works. When someone's going through like OP's going through, violating your boundaries repeatedly, time after time, especially this is someone that you're meant to be able to love and trust, you know, you can see how it does become normal for that person. And I was listening to another podcast once that was talking about normalization, and you know, it's almost like a reaction from your brain to protect yourself from the constant distress, like a survival mechanism. And it just becomes a pattern of a violation, a fake apology, and then making OP feel like the guilty one until their normal meter is like just completely gone. And then that is their new normal. But one of the commenters says, not the arsehole. It's almost a guarantee he has read it more than these 3 times. It's a gross violation of trust and privacy, and he will never change. Another commenter says, you willingly married someone after they proved time and again that they have no problem crossing your boundaries, and then punishing you for what's inside that journal. Leave the arsehole. He will do it again. And if you think he's only done it 3 times, you're naive. Leave him. Not the arsehole, but you will be if you stay with someone who punished you for your thoughts and violates your boundaries time after time. Another commenter says, not the arsehole. He has broken your trust 3 times, and after the first time knew that he might not like what you had written. Sounds like he uses reading your journal as a way to understand how you are feeling, rather than actually asking you. The whole point of a journal is that you get to articulate your feelings, unedited, in a private place. He's disrespected that on 3 separate occasions. If he didn't want to be upset by what he read, he shouldn't have read it. Sci-Fi Bye says, in quotes, anyway we got married, and says, why? The whiplash I got here, shake my head, but massive red flags in the previous paragraphs aside, he has now violated your most personal, private space 3 times. He's not sorry for this. He knows what a diary is, and he knows you do not want him reading it. He is doing this intentionally. I don't know what you wrote, but frankly it doesn't matter. He has proven he, 1, does not respect you or your privacy, and 2, does not trust you or your ability to separate thought from action. This is not the foundation of a healthy relationship. Not the arsehole, but stop putting up with this. You will do it again. You will get angry again. He will make you feel guilty again. This cycle is messed up, and you need to put a stop to it immediately. The OP comes in with an update and says, hey Reddit, here's an update to my post from a couple of weeks ago, and you can find the original here, and then shared the link and says, I will keep the update itself brief. The kids and I are safe, and I'm divorcing my husband. The incident that I posted about was so jarring that I could no longer downplay the abuse. I understood then that it would be so much worse for my kids to grow up in a household like that than to grow up with divorced parents. I did want to take this opportunity to talk to people who seemed flabbergasted that I had not left him earlier. I know Reddit can be cruel sometimes, but to shame someone for staying in an abusive relationship is just so ignorant. A person stays with an abuser for a myriad of reasons. Fear, shame, mental health issues, lack of resources, lack of support, lack of money, the partner's coercive control, etc. Please educate yourselves on abusive relationships before writing judgmental comments. In my case, I stayed because he was good at manipulating and gaslighting, at sowing doubt and confusion. But I started taking notes during arguments because I felt like I was going crazy. He would say things and then deny up and down that he said them. He would tell me that I misinterpreted his words, or that I had a bad memory, or that I had anger issues. Meanwhile, he was the one punching at walls, breaking things, lying, and following me from room to room as I was trying to get away from him. After years and years of this, I left only when I saw how much staying would hurt my kids. To those in emotionally abusive relationships like mine, I want you to know that I see you. This is real abuse, even if it doesn't leave physical scars. OP came back sometime later with a new post on the Am I the Arsehole subreddit, which was titled Am I the Arsehole for going low contact with my husband when he joined a dating site after we explicitly agreed to wait until after our divorce. Then said, in May 2022, I took a break from my marriage because my husband's verbal abuse was escalating. He moved out for a few weeks. Some of the things that he said during our last fight, but had said many times before, were that I'm a failure. No one likes me and I'm socially awkward. I have a graduate degree, I make good money, and I have friends, but I still believed him. During our separation, I signed up for a dating site. This was not to date or hook up with anyone, and I did not meet or talk with anyone. It was only to see if I was really as undesirable as he made me out to be. He was wrong. I felt better about myself and I deleted my account. Like Ross from Friends, I thought this was okay since we were on a break. I recognized that I should have set ground rules with my husband during the break, and I apologized to him about that. We tried to work on our marriage, but as those who read my other posts know, I am divorcing him. This time, during our separation, we set ground rules. One of them, at his request, was that we refrain from dating sites and dating in general until the divorce is finalized. We both agreed. 2 days ago, I got a bank notification about some weird charges. When I looked into it, I saw that he had joined 2 dating apps and mistakenly charged our joint account. I took a screenshot and sent it to him without comment. He responded that it was okay for him to do that because I did it in the past. When I mentioned that we discussed and agreed not to do that, he said, I'm just doing what you did. I said he was the one who specifically asked that we not join sites until the divorce was finalized, but again, he said that I did it last time, so it's okay that he did it. He's now acting overly friendly, so I will let this issue go. But I feel deceived and can't go back to trying to be amicable with him. I decided to limit our conversations to our mediation sessions, but he continues to insist he did nothing wrong and is accusing me of withdrawing, like I always do, and of making the divorce contentious. Am I the asshole for being bothered by what he did? I don't trust him, which makes me want to pull away. But maybe he's right, that I don't know how to respond in a healthy way. He always accuses me of overreacting to things or of having unhealthy emotional responses. So if someone could please tell me what the healthy way to respond to this would be, I'm all ears. And then again, OP came in with another update sometime later and said several months ago, I turned to Reddit because I knew something was wrong in my marriage, but I needed outside perspective to tell me how wrong. I was the proverbial frog in boiling water. Since then, I've asked myself repeatedly why I didn't leave earlier. Then I remembered that I did try to end things a couple of months after we started dating. He was love bombing me, and I felt smothered. When I told him that I wanted space, he was devastated. I see now that that was the turning point. I prioritized his feelings over mine. I gave him the benefit of every doubt. I convinced myself that the red flags I was seeing were aberrations. It hurts thinking about how much precious time I wasted on him. Here's my update then. I moved into my new place 2 days ago. Our home closed escrow and the details of our divorce are finalized. These past few months were a unique kind of hell, but I'm now bursting with hope and happiness and I'm finally free of him. OP mentioned that he put these dating charges on their joint account. I don't think it's an accident at all. I think he knew exactly what he was doing. The guy is showing a lot of textbook abusive behaviors all in one post. And I'm glad that OP got herself out of that situation in the end, and hopefully just totally disconnects from him, because, you know, he will try to worm his way back in some way, shape or form, especially, and OP never mentioned at the end, there's kids involved. And I really hope that they're doing okay at the same time. But what do you guys make of this situation? Everyone's saying below this post, you know, it wasn't just the 3 times that he was reading that diary initially, it was constantly. But what do you think? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Now, our next story comes from Status Silver 1772. And it says, am I the arsehole for refusing to allow my stepdaughter to use one of my cars and telling her to get a job and buy one instead? My husband and I have a 5-year-old son together, and he has an 18 female daughter, Sally, from his previous marriage. Sally is an entitled, manipulative young lady who has spent her entire life milking the child of divorce card in order to make her parents feel bad for her and give her everything she wanted. As a result, she is now a lazy adult, has poor grades in school, no perspective, no job, no desire to get a job or do something with her life. Although my husband and her bio mum are both responsible for how she turned out, instead of coming together and working towards helping her do something, they prefer to blame each other, and they do everything they can to undermine the other one. For example, if my husband punishes Sally by not giving her spending money, her mum will immediately throw money at her. If her mum takes her car away as a punishment, my husband will immediately give her his car to use to go places. It's a very strange dynamic they have, and very different of what he has with me. When I asked him why he's so different in terms of parenting my son with me versus Sally with her bio mum, he said, I am his wife and I am normal. I am a normal, sane woman who can actually communicate with. Whatever. I feel like they are both wrong, but Sally is not my daughter, and I'm happy I don't have to spend too much time with her. Now that the summer break has started, Sally has the most important problem in the world. Her car broke and she needs one to use this summer to go places, meet her friends, go to parties, etc. Her mum is not willing to give her a car because she needs it to go to work. My husband needs his car to go to work, and neither of them is willing to buy her a new one. So Sally, the genius, found the perfect solution and asked me to give her one of my cars. To be clear, I have 2 cars. A big SUV that was given to me by my employer, and a smaller one that I use when I go to town because it's easier to park. I refused, and I told her she can't use any of my cars. She insisted and said I don't need 2 cars at the same time, but she needs one to get around. I told her she is free to use public transportation or get a job and buy one herself. Now Sally is going around to my husband's relatives complaining that I'm trying to exploit her and send her to work. I had a good laugh about this with my husband's sister, but my mother-in-law claims I could have just refused instead of telling her to get a job. I'm a little confused. What's so bad about telling an adult to get a job? It's not like I sent a 12-year-old to work for a food or anything. Revolutionary says on the back of this one, not the arsehole, hide your keys. Absolutely, we've seen that one too many times in these stories, right? Pleasant Ben says ditto on the not the arsehole. Also make it clear to all that you will call the police if a car goes missing, and you will tell them who took it. Boo Boo says this OP, because from what you've described, Sally wouldn't think twice about borrowing one of your cars. And if the SUV is a nicer vehicle, that is what she'll likely take, especially as her friends will all fit. Make it clear to both her and your husband that if either vehicle is ever missing, you'll report it stolen to police and will follow through on pressing charges. Damascus says, if you start getting messages from her family members about how you're trying to manipulate her into getting a job, you need to confirm that shit as clearly as possible. You are trying to make her get a job and will continue to do so as long as you can. You have the opportunity to erase some of the damage done by her 2 enabling parents. Don't be deterred. OP responded to that saying, the strange thing is that my husband agrees with me. My mother totally hates me and is teaching her that everything I say is bullshit. My husband's sister agrees with me and my mother-in-law babies her because she is her first grandchild. But I feel like no one in this situation is doing her a favor. I'm not trying to manipulate her, but her situation is so different to what I'm used to or how I parent my own child that it's insane. Like, how can it be so horrible to teach an adult responsibility? to want to give her a direction in life. I don't know what they expect to do with her, honestly. They can't support her for the rest of her life. And it's sad because she is a capable, healthy adult. Even people with disabilities work and want to do something with their lives, so she has no excuse. So OP came in with an update and said, "Hello again. Thank you all for the feedback you provided to my previous post. I really appreciate you spent your time to give me some ideas. The majority you advised me to hide my car keys because Sally would most likely try to steal one of my cars when I'm not home. You are not far from the truth because she oftentimes does this with her mother's car, meaning she will take the car when her mum is not home without asking her if she needs it later or ask for permission. So your advice makes a lot of sense. However, I refuse to do such thing in my own home. I believe if I end up in a position to have to hide my things in my own house, I have a bigger problem that needs to be solved. Also, where does this stop? Today I have to hide my keys, later my money, later my purse? This is not the kind of life I want to have, and it never happened to me as a teenager/young adult. When I used to live with my parents, I knew where everything was. Car keys, money, documents, jewelry, etc. And I have never taken anything without asking. So, after reading the comments from a user, thank you by the way, I had a good laugh, I decided to follow their advice, but in a less dramatic way. I sat my husband and his daughter down to have a chat. I made it clear in front of my husband that Sally insisted she uses one of my cars and I do not agree with it. Then I told Sally that I know she sometimes takes her mother's car without asking, and warned her not to dare do something with my cars when I'm not home because if she does, I will call the police and report the car stolen. She was shocked and asked me if I would stoop as low to report her for stealing just for a car that I don't use or need anyways. I told her it's not me who would stoop so low, but her, because taking something that doesn't belong to you, especially after being told no, is the clear definition of stealing. So yes, I would report it. I think for the first time in her life she understood there will be consequences for her actions, and she did not protest further. After this, I asked her to clarify in front of my husband how it is that me suggesting that she gets a job makes me a person who tries to exploit her, based on what she told mother-in-law and sister-in-law. My husband had no idea about it and he just exploded. After hearing what happened, he told her it's good that we hear what she talks about behind our backs because it will give her even more reasons to complain. My husband told her she will not be seeing any money from him during this summer. Sally started crying and told him he can't do this, but husband told her he can and he will. His responsibility as her parent is to feed her, buy her clothes and help her pay for school items, but that's it. She's an adult, and if she wants to party or see her friends, she should start paying for it for herself since she never appreciated anything she was given. Apparently this is the hill my husband said he is willing to die on, and he even told his ex-wife about his plans, making it clear that if she wants to support Sally's activities this summer, she will have to do it alone, because he will not contribute for anything that's not a necessity. So yeah, this is where we're at now. Sally stormed out of our house and of course went to her grandmother to complain. But I am waiting. If mother-in-law opens any discussions about it with me, I will make it clear she is free to support Sally as much as she wants. We are not stopping her. Beach Boy says, good to hear spouse supports you. Not always the case. Luffy says, obviously good talk. Use that shiny spine to good advantage. Limitless Megan says, a shame he waited until she was an adult to actually parent her. But hey, maybe him and his wife can actually get in the same bandwagon and make a dent in the child they collectively broke to get back at each other. And a lot of people talking about, weaponizing the child against each other and how shitty that is as well. But now, I'm going to turn this one to you guys. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Take care and much love.